foci is constant. Okay, and we looked at that at this website. So if those of you that are watching the video, if you want to go to the website, great. But this is pretty much how an ellipse is formed. Okay, you have 2 points here which are called foci. You have a fixed distance, you just trace it around, and that's an ellipse. And so real quick, I want you to look at this. I've given it to you on your sheet of paper. We're going to go through these definitions and then you're going to apply that knowledge. So first of all, the major axis is always the longest axis. The center is always the midpoint of the major axis. The vertices are the end points of the major axis. Foci are 2 points that define an ellipse. The minor axis is the shortest axis, and the co-vertices are the end points of the minor axis. So based on that, I want you to label each of those points in this slide. Okay, so based on those definitions, interesting. Okay, so we're going to start with the purple. Okay, so the purple here. What are these points here called?
Vertices.
Vertices. That's a plural. Vertex is singular. Okay, so the purple are the vertices. Okay, what is this?
The major axis.
The major axis. Good job. Okay, what are these? Nice job. Foci. Okay.
Foci.
Okay, what are these right here?
The co-vertices.
The co-vertices. Okay, what is this?
The minor axis.
The minor axis. What?
The middle one is the center.
The middle one is the center. Good job. Okay,
I know this one.
so now a little bit about the ellipse. We're going to learn some terminology as to what signifies what. First of all, with the vertices, the distance from the center to the vertex, or vertices, is known as A. Okay. That distance is always A. Now you're probably wondering what is A, but when we get to the formula, you'll see. The distance from the center to the co-vertices is called B. And the distance from the center to the foci is called
C.
C. Okay. So A, B, and C. All right, so now we're going to look at the different equations. There are 2 different equations. The equations aren't that difficult to distinguish between. Basically, what you need to understand is A is always the largest number. So A is always the largest number. So let's look at this. In this first diagram, A is paired with what variable? In this first one right here, what variable is A paired with? It's paired with the x, right? It's located under the x. So notice how the ellipse opens. The ellipse opens horizontally. Okay? Now let's look at the second equation. What variable is the a paired with? The y. So it opens vertically. Right. A is always the largest number. Okay? B is always the other number. Okay? Now actually, if you notice, it says a squared and b squared. So we'll have to take that into account when we get to the problem. Okay? But those are a few things. You don't necessarily need to memorize all of this stuff. The one thing that you do need to know, and this is pretty important, you need to understand this statement right here. C squared equals a squared minus b squared. You will use that. So now we're just going to jump right in with an example because I think it's best to learn that way, especially on this. So it says graph the ellipse given by the equation.
Okay,
Very first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the center. Okay? The center in this case will be how we found this, how we found the vertex in the parabola. So based on how we found the vertex in the parabola, what do you think the center of this ellipse is?
18.
3, -1. Remember how we got that? The opposite and the opposite. So 3, -1. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to go ahead and plot that. Now I'm not going to use a dot because it's not a dot on the graph. I'm going to use a star. That's what I always use. You can do something else. But we don't want it to be a dot. Now I need to find what A is. Remember, A always is the largest number.
36.
So A squared is 36, which means that A is 6.
So 6 long.
So 6 is paired with the X, right? So here's my center. X goes left to right.
Go.
So I'm going to go 6 this way. And I'm going to go 6 this way. And that is your major axis.
Did you make a line?
Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my minor axis. So I need to find what B is. B is the other number. So B is what?
3.
3. So from the center I'm going to go, what do you think? Up 3 and down 3. So now all we need to do is connect those dots in some sort of an elliptical shape. And we are done.
Yeah.
That's all. All right, let's look at this next one. You need to change it based on what's on your sheet. Okay? Based on what's written on your sheet, you need to look up here what I have. You need to change it.
Oh! I was like,
Okay.
oh.
So that's the exact same thing.
Change it.
So now we have to figure out, first thing, let's figure out the center.
2 given 1.
Mm,
Is that right?
2, 1. 2 negative. Wait.
2, 0. Because nothing's done to the y, so that's always 0. So 2, 0 is my center. Where is, or what is A?
4.
Oh, it's 5 because 25 is the biggest one.
Oh my gosh, I'm so slow.
So what direction will it open?
Up.
Up and down. So from the center, I'm going to go 5 up and 5 down. Remember, A is always the largest number. All right, what's B?
4.
4. So I'm going to go 4 horizontally.
How many did you go over?
4. Okay? All right. So we're going to be moving on to the next one. The next one, if you notice, is not written in standard form. So we've got a few things we've got to do.
Yeah.
So-
Make it standard form before we can even
That's
start
right.
the problem.
That's right. So to make it standard form, we're going to isolate the x's, isolate the y's, and we're going to move everything else to the right side. Isolate the x's, isolate the y's, move everything else to the right side. Now, in order to complete the square, the x squared and the y squared both have to have coefficients of 1. We've got a problem. And the problem is that I've got a 4y squared. So I'm going to factor out a 4. Okay? So if you ever have a number in front of that y squared or the x squared, you have to take it out. And you have to take it out from both of the terms that are in that set of parentheses. So now we need to complete the square. So I need to take half of 4 right here. And I'm going to square it. And so I've added 2 squared, which is 2 squared is 4. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add 4. Because it's half of 4, and then you square it. So then now I'm going to take half of negative 10. Half of negative 10 is negative 5, and I'm going to square it. Now when I add it over here to the right, I've also got to take it times the 4. Okay, so what is negative 5 squared? 20. 25, and then take it times 4, you're right. And I'm going to add 100 over here. So on the left side, I get x plus 2 quantity squared plus 4 times, what will that be? Minus 5 quantity squared. Remember, that's why we write it as like 2 squared or negative 5 squared, because those are what we use. And what will that equal? 1. Now, ellipses always equal 1. So we're good. We've got one problem, though, and that's this 4. Okay, so I'm going to show you whenever you get a coefficient there and you get it to equal 1, this is what you're going to do. You're going to divide by the reciprocal of that. And that is essentially what multiplying by 4 is. So if that would have been a 3, you would have divided by 1/3. If that would have been a 2, you would have divided by 1/2. Alrighty, so what's my center going to be? Negative 2, 5. So let's put a dot at negative 2, 5. What's wrong?
How do you get that 100?
Because negative 5 squared is 25, right? Times 4 is 100. You've always got to take it times whatever the number is on the outside. Yes. Okay, so now we have to figure out A and B. What number is this fraction over if there's nothing written? 1. So what's the square root of 1? What's the square root of 1/4? 1/2. Good job. So A is 1 and B is 1/2, and you're probably like, well, how do I graph that? Well, here's your center. A is 1. How am I going to do A is 1? Which way? To the right and to the left.
Wait, okay, I forgot how we know which way.
It's paired with the x.
Oh.
Okay? So now b is 1/2. I'm going to go up 1/2 and down 1/2. So it's a little baby one.
I feel like that is an awful lot of work for a little tiny one.
Well, we've got one more we're going to look at. Okay? And we're going to look at one more just to make sure we have the stamp. Okay? And this is the last one today. So this is all we're covering today. We're not covering any of the right equations, just the graphing. So let's go ahead and look at this. Very first step. You need to isolate the x's and the y's. So 4x squared minus 24x plus y squared plus 4y, and that's going to equal negative 24. Now what do you have to do?
Okay, now we
Take the 4 out of the x's.
Take the 4 out of the x's. Good. So I've got 4 times x squared,
minus 6.
6x. What is 6x? Because that's when you take the 4 from 24.
You're flying.
So now,
2x squared on the other one.
half of
Half of 6. 3 is 3.
negative 3 squared, which is 9, but I've got a 4.
36.
So it's 36, good. So 36 here. Then I'm going to take half of 4,
Squared.
which is 2, and I'm going to add 4. Good. There you go. So on the left side, I have 4 times
X squared.
x
X minus 33.
squared plus
Y plus 2 squared.
equals,
Wait, that doesn't make it one.
I know, we'll talk about that.
Oh, it's gonna be another solution.
Nope.
It's like 26.
Try again.
Baby. 36 plus 4 is 40 minus 24.
Is
26, isn't it? 16. Dang it! I fail at life.
okay. So now what did we say? What did we say ellipses need to equal?
1.
Equals what? No.
Ugh.
So I'm going to divide everything by a 16.
Wait, why?
Oh my because remember, ellipses need to equal 1.
Ah!
So I'm going to divide by whatever number I got here on the right side. If it had been 25, you would have divided by 25. If it would have been 40, you would have divided by 40. Now here, if I look at this, I've got a fraction. So I'm going to do 1 and 4. So this really becomes x minus 3 squared over 4. Okay. Now on this next one, this one is y plus 2 squared over 16. And that's going to now equal 1. So now I can graph the problem. So my center is at 3, negative 2. So 1, 2, 3, negative 2. There you go. A equals
A equals 4.
A equals 4. So from the center, where am I going to go?
Over 4. Wait, no. Up 4.
Up 4,
How do you know that? Because
And-
it's with a Y.
down 4.
Doesn't do that.
Remember, because it's with the y, that means I go up and down. What is b?
2.
b is 2.
Over 2.
Over 2, right 2. And there you go.
Where did you get the 2 from?
That's the square root of 4.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yep. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and call it good for today. We will continue with this on Monday. And so if you want to get started on your homework, there you go, page 438, 439,
Keep that up.
2 through 6 the evens, 7 through 18 all, 24 through 30 the evens, and 39 through 42.